Okay, so first, low clutch and low hold. This is the part number for the circlip. Just ignore this part. So getting this in is super easy. Basically, you're gonna first see where this is gonna end, because you don't. This is also really super picky, but I want them to be like that, so that it's held in place. So it's held in place by the groove, instead of having them end like this, where this one is held in by the groove, but this part's not that part. So just super picky, but I'd have it like that. That means both ends are held in by the groove. And basically, you're gonna start with one side, and you can pretty much do this one-handed. So once that's in, you can get the rest of it pushed in. So that gets pushed in there, and then just work it all the way around. And then just check it, and just check the entire edge, and then okay, actually this part right here looks like it's pretty much just push it down to double check it. So the way it ends right there, I don't like that, because just the tip is being captured by the groove. This is actually like the worst position that I would want it. So okay, I have to do this off camera, but basically I'm going to slide this till it gets to about here, and that will make this slide into this more. And make sure that this is actually centered so that you can slide this, because otherwise it's going to bind on this corner right here. So I want it to terminate just like that, where both ends are captured into the groove. And actually it was easier if you just lift up this side and then just slide it to whatever position you need it, and then snap it back in place. Something really important to know about fourth and fifth clutch. The problem with it is it looks identical, and a lot of it actually is identical. This retainer, PX4, and also the circlip, the exact same part on both sides. PX4, same retaining clip. And the difference is one side uses 2.0 millimeter steel plates, and the other side uses 2.3 millimeter steel plates. So what you have to do is use a caliper, and you just stick this at the top, and then see how this touches the piston. So this one reads 23.78. The other side read 25.10. So obviously the bigger number is going to be the 2.3 millimeter steel plates. So since it did have thicker plates, it might also have thicker friction discs too. And then the only way I can think of to not confuse which side is which, or, well, I mean, do one side at a time. So when you take this off to replace these O-rings, do this side, do it completely, and then do the other side. That's one really simple trick to be less confused. You're still gonna be really confused, but it'll help a little bit. So basically, yeah. So this side has a spline. This side doesn't. So one side's bigger, so that's the 2.3 millimeter plates. And then how you know, is it this orientation or this orientation on the shaft? Just look at the diagram, and whichever side it's showing the shaft pointed to, that's the side. Well, that's its orientation. So 4th and 5th gear won't matter as long as you put the correct thickness plates on the right side. Also need to mention that for 4th and 5th clutch, one end plate is, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the initial number is, 2.5 or 3.5. And the other end plate is either 2.4 or 3.4 millimeters. So one is slightly smaller than the other one, and I can't remember which, but basically you'll just have to look at the end plate. Hopefully it's really obvious that the bigger one won't fit to the other side, but usually you don't get that lucky. I just found something out. Well, first of all, I shouldn't have taken both of these out at the same time, because that's why I'm confused. But yeah, for you guys, make sure you only take out one side or the other at a time. But I noticed that that's 2 millimeter steel plates, and that's a 0.5 millimeter, like 2.5 or 3.5 millimeter end plate. And so the 2.3 millimeter steel plates have the 2.4 or 3.4 millimeter end plate. So assuming that I actually kept these in together correctly, the thinner steels go with the slightly bigger end plate. And if I actually did keep these in order, that means this went to the top of the shaft, and this would have been pointed towards the bottom if you were putting it into the transmission case, and then the end plug would be up here. Alright, I'm going to show you from start to finish how to take out the piston, replace the seals, and then put it back together. So here's that bar that I made, the length. Basically, you're just gonna guess the length. It's basically this much plus a little bit more. So maybe like 1.5 from your pinky to your thumb. See, that's about how much it is. So just say about that much around, or you can just do that much. It's not really doesn't need to be that accurate. So I've got the washer here, I've got the coupler nut, and the size for this threaded rod, I can't remember, but it's probably the largest size that Home Depot carries, and I haven't cut this down again. And the washer is I'm using two of them, and so the washer from Home Depot says, I don't know if you can see it, but it says ASC, and that's a specific size. It's a code that they use at Home Depot. So whatever size this is, that's what it is. It's about the size of my. It's a little bit bigger than my thumb, actually. And the reason why I have it at this length, because it goes up to here. The reason why I've adjusted it here is because that's the length that I need. So I've already done this side. This is the bigger side. It was like what, like 25.10 millimeters, I think. And so this side should be about 23.94 millimeters, about 24 millimeters. So this is the smaller side, and it's only smaller by like 1 millimeter, just a little bit over that. Just like I said, it's the difference between fourth and fifth, and I still haven't looked it up to see which is which. It's just basically 1 millimeter for the entire extra plate and disc. So, and again, the way to tell the difference is this side is splined, the other side isn't splined. So we're working on the splined side this time, and it's the smaller side. So basically, center this, and you see how I have extra here? The reason why I did that is because like maybe in the future I'll be working on a clutch guide that's bigger than this, so I just made a little bit extra just in case. On some clutches it might be even bigger than this, so maybe this wasn't even long enough, but I just, I basically just estimated it. Okay, so center this, and I'm going to use this piece on the master ball joint kit. If you can find something else that's like this, use it. But the reason why I need this cutout is because I have to somehow get to the circlip to take it off and put it back on. So okay, and I'm using this piece just to I don't really need it. In fact, I could shorten this, but I've been doing this, so whatever. Put this on, and then the washer, same size washer, ASC, for the top and the bottom. And then again, a coupler nut. And these aren't any fancy grades. I don't think this is like grade, I forgot what it is, like grade 5 and grade 8. Sometimes they go by class 11 or 12. I can't remember the difference. But grade and class are different. That's about all I know. So like grade 11.8 or whatever is equivalent to grade, I can't remember if it's equivalent to grade 5 or grade 8 bolts. Anyways, basically I've got it so that the threaded rod goes pretty much to the top of the coupler nut, so I get as much leverage as possible. Okay. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna compress it. I'll use a small wrench on the bottom coupler nut, and then I'll also turn this so that these two are together, so I can hold both at the same time here. That's what I'm doing. And I've got a bigger wrench, and I use that at the top here. Okay, once I've got everything centered, and I've centered this ball joint adapter piece here, make sure it's centered because you don't want it falling off. So I'm just going to torque it. And actually, you know, I should have, hang on. Actually, you have to turn it so that the circlip is facing you so that you can get to it. So you've got to rotate this whole thing until you see the ends of the circlip are facing you. And also remember, center this threaded rod in the center of the guide. And then center the ball joint piece. Make sure the back isn't hanging over. It'd be better if this piece was smaller, but I mean it's the best fit that I've got. Okay, so I've got my wrench up here. And then I'm going to start tightening it down clockwise. So it's down enough so now that I can take the circlip out. And you could probably use 2 flatheads, but I've got the circlip pliers, so I'm just going to use that. It's easier to take it off. Well, sometimes it's easier. Okay, it's off. So now you can unscrew this and loosen the tension on the spring. So we're going to go counterclockwise for loosening. And the reason why this thing is swaying is because I'm trying to get this as close to the camera as possible. And so I'm about to hit the camera, that's why I keep swaying it back and forth. I don't know if you can see it, but the spring is going up. So then at this point just completely take out this coupler nut without hitting the camera. And then you can take out the adapters. Okay, so it's the circlip, the retaining ring retainer, and then I'm going to make sure that I put the spring back in exactly how I found it, so this side, not this opposite side here. So you'll want to clean up this spring. Usually it's not that dirty, but underneath it's pretty dirty, so you have to clean that up. And then next I'm going to show you how to get the piston out. So take this spring out. Right, so here's the clutch we're working on again. Just use a compressor, and since we're taking out this piston, it's going to be the hole closest to the piston. So if we were trying to take out the other piston, it'd be the bottom hole. But since we're taking out this one, we're going to do that top hole. And we're doing this blind side, whatever clutch number this is. Basically, I just pump this thing up, and I think it's reading about not 80. No, it's reading like 110 psi, something like that. If I know 40 psi won't work, but this seems to work okay. So the nozzle I'm using is like this cheapo one from Harbor Freight. It was like $4 for this kit. Just basically anything that's gonna fit into the hole. It does not, well, it's not gonna go inside the hole, but basically there's the hole. Just spray it. And I don't know if you saw that, but the piston jumped out like right away. If it didn't, there's other holes around here. There's that one, there's another one here. Just go around the holes and keep spraying it, but this one came out on the first try. So next thing, I'll show you how to get this piston out because it's actually still a little bit stuck. Alright, so after you've blown out the piston with air, to get it the rest of the way out, you just put it on your thigh and I think it's out. It's mostly out. You can either give it a bigger whack, or you can try to. It's kind of risky trying to scrape it off here because you might put some nicks into it. Let's see if I can just get the rest of the way out. Okay, yep, got it. And it's really greasy. So there's the piston. And this is just a typical piston setup. So what you're gonna do is, you see this O-ring on the inside here, on this inside. You're gonna replace that O-ring, which is pretty straightforward. And then you're going to replace the O-ring on the outer edge, the biggest one, and that's pretty straightforward. Just make sure that once you take them out, squeeze the paper towel and then get into the grooves and then clean it out on both of them. That's really important because it leaves a lot of gunk in here. Okay, so we're gonna put the seals back on this piston. And fourth and fifth have the same, they have a lot of the same parts. The friction disc are all the same part numbers. The inner and outer seals for the piston, same part numbers. The retainer, same part number, it's that part number. And even the circlip for that retainer is the same part number. So again, this is the part number for the large outer ring for the piston. It comes folded like this. So just unfold it, and then we're gonna lubricate this. And then we're just gonna put it on the piston. So just start at one edge and then just hold it on both sides and then stretch it out a little bit. And this O-ring is really stretchy, so it's not even a problem. So then once you do that, I like to spin it. That way I know it's not bound up somewhere. Okay, then once that's done, here's the part number for the inner O-ring. And this one is pretty easy too. Just start pretty much anywhere you want. And then you're just gonna hold it. And then you're just gonna basically just stuff it. See, make sure just hold it here. And then just stuff it down. And then this one's spinning, so that's good. Okay, once you've got it like that, I like to lubricate it. And actually I'm not going to use my finger this time, because I think it just spreads the lint around from the paper towel. So I'm just going to try to do it without touching it. Except I do see like a piece of metal, like a flake here. Okay, and then also the inside. Actually, you know what? Forget it. Okay, for the guide, just put some here and then lubricate it. Get the outside, and then also you need to get this part right here, because the inner O-ring is going to slide over here, so you need to get it all the way up to the top here too. Okay. Try not to slip while you hold this. And you have to get the top part, this part, the inside. And just be really careful. The worst thing that I can think of is the O-ring starts binding, and then it's gonna roll over on itself, and then it'll get out of its groove. That's the only thing I worry about. So I think turning it upside down actually helps it, because doing it this way, gravity pulls it down and it binds. So I think doing it upside down helps a lot. And then what I'm doing is I'm going like in a rocking circular motion. That way I can try to get it even. Okay, so I've got it down far enough. It's now gonna touch the edge, and now I have to do the same rocking motion to try to seat it evenly on the edge without binding. Okay, now I'm just gonna add a bunch of oil. So I'm still trying to rock it. Oops. And probably added too much oil, but whatever. So basically rock it here, and then rock it, turn it 90 degrees and try to wobble it. And I think it's actually going in, yeah, it's going in crooked, that's why it's binding. It's too high on this side. So I'm going to try to hit it out. Okay, so I'm pushing on this side, it's going down. And I think that sound was it bottoming out. And it looks like it's bottomed out too, if you can see it. Because it's now flush with, let's see if this outer edge of the piston is now flush with the guide itself. If you can see, it's level right there. So it seems to be level on all edges. So I think that's bottomed out. And I don't think it rolled, so I think we're fine. So next step, I'm going to show you how to put the circlip back on, which is the hardest part out of all of this.